Well, welcome back, folks. Today we're going to do a brief review of the fuel tank for the Yamaha YL1 as I prepare to repair it in preparation for paint. I got this tank back from the chrome shop quite a few months ago, and you may recall, if you're a frequent viewer of mine, that I did a brief review of the tank at that time. In fact, if you check right up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little pop-up that will take you back to that video if you want to look at it. This tank does have some damage here down the middle. There will be a paint down the middle like so here and along the bottom, and I'll have to repair these minor dents, and I have to scuff up the chrome where the paint will go anyway. I had contacted one of my viewers, Jono from the UK, recently to provide me with some of the dimensions of the paint layout. The reason I had to do that is, though I had detailed the layout of the paint with dimensions before I'd sent it off to the chrome shop, knowing the paint would be removed, I can't find the photos and the dimensions that I'd taken at the time. I put them in a very safe place, so safe that I can't seem to find them. So Jonah was kind enough to document his tank, and I will use his dimensions to lay out the paint when I get to that point. But in the meantime, I've got, like I said, some minor dents here that were actually quite a bit worse that I pulled out 6 or 8 months ago now, and I'll have to lay out where the paint goes so I know where I've got to scuff the chrome to prepare for painting here relatively soon. Now, I'm not going to take you through all the preparation that I'm going to go through to repair the tank and paint it, because it'll be a fairly laborious process, and it'd be hours and hours worth of video even if I was to edit it down. So I'll just try to show you some of the highlights. One thing I have done that I think I had mentioned before also is that the tank, when it came back, was full of rust. Now, originally I had derusted the inside of the gas tank completely before I sent it off to be re-chromed. But the chrome tanks, apparently they filled them with water and then plugged them and submerged them in their tank. This tank, which was gone from my possession for probably 4 months, clearly had been left with moisture in it because it had started to re-rust inside. So, see if I can give you a shot of this here. You can see in there I have stripped the rust. It's down to bare steel. I stripped it using initially electrolysis, which is my preferred process for removing serious rust. And then I treated it after the electrolysis was complete with a fresh batch of evaporust, which I've talked about before, to coat it and clean it. And I'm very happy with the way the tank turned out on the inside. What I'm going to do first, though, before I start repairing the dents on the top, and I have not cleaned this tank at all, so you're going to see smudges and that kind of thing right now. But if you'll notice here, you can see this section down the middle is rusty. And in fact, I started wire brushing it. And as I recall, when I took this tank off the bike initially, a year or so ago now, this also had surface rust on it. And it had not been painted very well from the manufacturer. It was very thin paint. I think it was painted initially, or had some kind of coating on it, maybe even a light coat of chrome. But it had surface rust here, and it had rebuilt up again. So I have started to wire brush it with a simple little wire brush you can see right here. And I'm going to finish doing some brushing to that. And then when that's done, I'm going to hit it with some Eastwood rust encapsulator. I've used this product before, and it's designed as a base coat to treat rusty areas like this. You can see I bought it in August of 2012. It is still good. I did spray it out, and it does work. The nozzle didn't get plugged up. I've used this product before. I'm very happy with it, and you can top coat that with virtually any finish when you're done. And the whole idea behind it is to seal this area and prevent rust from reoccurring. It just seals it off from the atmosphere. It does not allow rust to reform. So I'm going to prep this area a little bit more. You don't have to have it down to bare metal. You just want to have it clean, and you don't want any flaking to go on. I'm almost there right now. And then I will treat this inner area here where the rust is, this patch, with the rust encapsulator. And then I'll turn the tank obviously back over, and I'll start laying out where the paint will be, and then I can get to repairing of these dents. Somewhere out here in the future, I don't know exactly where that will be yet, I'll bring you back and show you my progress on the tank before I actually get down to the painting itself. Well, it's now several weeks later. I had some spring maintenance work to get caught up around the house and the yard, and I've been working on the fuel tank here and there as time's permitted, but I've got it about ready to go into paint now. You can see I've got the filler all complete. That's where those minor depressions were left over from those dents. I have the chrome scuffed, both the top and bottom. There was one little dent I found here, which I had not seen before, so I repaired that as well. And you can see there I have coated the inside with that Eastwood rust blocker paint. So in the next few days I will be painting this. I've got to wait for a couple of nice dry days with particular kind of weather. I like weather that is low humidity, mid 70s, that's Fahrenheit by the way, not Celsius. Mid 70s, low humidity and low winds. I paint early in the morning. I will be using a 2-part urethane based paint. When I say 2-part, I mean it requires a catalyst. And since it is urethane, it will require me to use a respirator. It's dangerous to breathe. It is a automotive style paint. Same paint I used on the frame of the YL1. And it is an enamel finish. Enamel, remember, is a type of finish. It is not a type of paint. Enamel is a high gloss paint. So by definition, I will not be using a clear coat on this paint because the original models did not use a clear coat like they did in later model years. It will be a medium build gray primer first. I'll put 2 coats of gray primer on, separated by probably 15 minutes or so. I'll let that flash off overnight. The next morning, then I will apply 2 to 3 top coats of that maroonish red paint that I used and was matched to an original NOS part on the parts that you see here masked off. This is the tape that I used, this 3M very thin tape right here to originally lay out the tape or paint lines like you can see here, because it's very easy to bend that paint, or rather that tape around the corners, these edges here, and then I just use regular high quality painter's tape, masking tape, to block off the rest to shield it from the paint. I used Jono's original dimensions that he provided me, I think I mentioned that before, to lay out the masking, and it so happened that I did eventually find my original photos. They were on my phone. I don't usually put shop photos on my phone. I have a separate camera in my shop that I use for these projects. Nonetheless, I was going through my phone the other day, or recently, and I found the original photos. I compared Jono's dimensions to those that I had taken off the original paint on this model, and they're virtually identical. So Jono, good job on the dimensions you gave me. It was very helpful, and it matched my originals. So this is now about ready to go. One other thing that I did over the last week or so is I made up this little gizmo. And what this little gadget is going to do, it's going to fit inside of the fuel filler neck right here to allow me to suspend the tank And rather than have to rest it on something, I can suspend the tank from overhead so that I can spray that bottom side of the tank completely where I had sealed it earlier with the Eastwood product. So I'm going to go ahead and install this little gizmo, show you how it works, and I'll bring you right back. Well, you can see how it goes together. There's a flat plate underneath there that runs underneath the filler neck. I'll eventually position it this way. Welded a nut on the back side that vertical all-thread threads into. And then I trap that with this aluminum disc here that is just slightly larger than the filler neck right here. And then I just ran it up through with some nuts, as you can see there. This little pivot arrangement is just some prefabricated strap steel that was pre-drilled that I cut some pieces off, bent it in my vise to create a hinge unit or assembly. And now I can hang the tank like you see there. I'll of course tighten all this up when I go to do it for the real thing, but you can see how that works right there. To hang it, I will probably take a 2x4 piece of wood, drill a hole in it, suspend it across a couple of my step ladders, get it up probably 4 feet off the ground or so that I can work around both sides of it. And then this does allow me to tilt this. Let me turn it this way. I will put a brass rod up through this filler neck, or this petcock hole right here, rather, a brass rod, and that'll allow me to tilt this like this so that I can spray underneath there completely and just allow this to pivot, as you can see there. That's the idea. Again, I didn't want to rest this on any prop, which normally is what one would probably do, and try to get this up suspended. Then I couldn't, without painting it in 2 separate days, which I do not want to put I don't want to spread this out over too many days. I could spray the bottom, let it dry, and then spray the top, and have to keep duplicating that with the primer and the top coats. And I did not want to do that. I want to do it all in one fell swoop, so that's why I made this arrangement. The next time you will see this tank, it will be painted, whether I'll show it mounted on a bike, or I'll show you after I paint it. But before I mount on the bike, I'm not sure yet. It'll be a few more days, I think 3 or 4 days before I'll be able to paint it watching the weather forecast. Other comment on the exhaust system, the mufflers, the silencers, they are off to the chrome shop. I did find a outfit, very well known, by the way. They recommended it to me by some other chrome shops, that they still do mufflers. And they're only located about 250 miles away from me. So he does have the mufflers, and he expects to have them done probably 4 or 5 weeks from this recording right here. And when I get those back and mounted back on the bike, I certainly will show you those as part of the final review of the YL1 project. That's going to be it for this video, folks. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.